Hi and welcome to the fourth episode of the Influential Wellnesspreneur podcast. My name is Sebastian Hilbert and I'm the Wellnesspreneur expert. I love meeting new people in the health and wellness industry, and I come across some really incredible people. So I thought I want to share that message with the world. So I started the Influential Wellnesspreneur podcast. And today I have one of my favorites here. Her name is Libby Salmon, and she has helped to bring a really cool technology to Australia, and is now the single distributor of that technology here. It's about helping your body to deal with the electronic smog that we are all probably aware of in this world. I mean, if you go out and you open your Wi-Fi tool on your phone and you're in an apartment building somewhere in the inner city, you see what's going on, how many Wi-Fis there are, and also Bluetooth and so on. So there's a big threat, in my opinion, there, and Libby has a great technology to deal with that. So really looking forward to hear about that. But she also has been or is scanner and physiotherapy therapist, which is also some really cool technology which deals with or affects and heals and improves the body by using its electrical signals or bioelectrical field. So she's really interested with that, and I'm really happy to have her here today. Hi, Libby, how are you?
Hi, Sebastian. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So great to have you here today. Before we start maybe talking about these technologies, which I really want to, I'd really like to hear your story, like where it all began and how you got into these great things that you do.
Okay. I first got into looking at different ways to help my daughter's pain. So about 12 years ago now, she was getting out of bed in the mornings and saying, "Mum, my legs hurt." And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then eventually that went on for quite some time. And eventually I sort of thought maybe I should do something about that, because she was 12 and 12-year-olds aren't supposed to get out of bed and complain about sore legs. So I did all the normal stuff that you do. You go to the massage therapist, or you massage them yourself. And so I was just working with what I knew and everything. And I think one day we ended up at the doctor, so I asked him about it. We went to a physiotherapist. But basically nothing really changed. She would just get out of bed in the morning and her legs hurt. She was involved in lots of sports, so that was why. It was all a muscular thing. It wasn't anything to do with that she had an injury or anything like that. It was just that she didn't stop, and so all those muscles in her legs just turned into knots. And as a result of all this looking around, I came across scanner therapy, and I took her along to that, and basically one session changed everything. So scanner therapy is a predecessor to physiotherapy, but at the time there wasn't any other. There was just scanner in Australia. So I was so fascinated in it, I got a personal device and was using that. And then I also looked at the professional device. It just interested me. So I bought a professional device and started the professional.
And what does it do? How can you tell us a little bit, short what it does?
Yeah, it's a neurofeedback device. So what's happening is if you can't look at the newer devices now are Sana-Key and Physio-Key. So they're more recent, and the technology's moved forward a little bit. But basically what's happening is you put the device on the skin. It's an electrical device. The device sends a signal through the skin, and then that travels through the nervous system to the brain. The brain picks up that signal and acknowledges the signal and sends back a response, which is what happens in a normal physiological process.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we get input from outside, that's what happens. What happens with these devices, though, is they pick up the body response and then change the next signal based on the body response. So it's like the devices are having a conversation with the body.
Right.
And they're changing the signal based on what the body's doing. And if you can get enough change happening, then the body will respond towards healing. And
it must do it very quickly, because you said it changed on the first session.
Oh, in her case, well, she had a lot of things that were in her favour. You know, she was fit, she was young, she was healthy. So everything changed very fast.
It helps, yeah.
And that can happen for adults as well. And we do see really fast change comparatively in lots of things compared to, you know, the mainstream devices and things that you know and are using. So it can change very fast. The body's capable of fast change. It's just that we don't necessarily allow that, and these devices, the Sanaky and PhysioKey, really let that happen and push the body to change. So you have to be a little bit practical. If you've had something for 30 or 40 years, it's not going to be gone in one session. But she was 12 and had probably been complaining for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
That's a muscular complaint. It wasn't a bone complaint. It wasn't. So if it's an easy, in inverted commas, kind of thing, then it can be a faster response. But some things are more complex than they first appear as well. So in her case, though, it was a very simple, straightforward.
Okay, this is really, I mean, I experienced it myself, and I think it's a fabulous technology. But I know there's another one you're really passionate about. What's that? What's that other one that you really like?
As a result of being involved with Scanner, I came across Flow. And Flow health technology is all about changing the effect of radiation on the body. So that's the non-ionizing radiation, which is the radiation from phones, Wi-Fi, electrical circuits, laptops, the electricity in the walls, things from engines. Like that non-ionizing radiation is everywhere. Anytime you've got an electrical gadget, you've got non-ionizing radiation. And the thing that the Flow products do is change the effect of that on the body. Now, we have to probably go back a bit, because people don't think that radiation has an effect on the body. So people are really aware that X-rays are damaging, and gamma rays and all of that sort of stuff damages the body. And if you're going to have an X-ray, you know, the person giving you the X-ray will go and hide behind a shield and while you have the X-ray. And it's a cumulative effect. So if you have lots of X-rays, they're counting how many X-rays you've had, and that is seen as damaging and can be a problem. And everybody knows that that's a problem. The non-ionizing radiation from our phones and everything else is often not spotted as a problem, and people don't realize there's an effect. Now, what's happening these days is that because there are so many more sources and so many of them are so strong, people really are affected, and they're affected in so many ways often they don't realize. And so things like headaches can be headaches. People sort of think about them as headaches, but it's not necessarily headaches. There can be headaches, there can be anxiety symptoms, there can be depression, gut symptoms, inflammation, nervous system effects. Like, the effects are basically endless, or the possible symptoms you exhibit are pretty much unlimited. Part of this is because of the way the radiation affects the body, and there is more and more research happening all the time to show that there is an effect from this kind of radiation, and there's a couple of different possible mechanisms of action that it's affecting the body at a cellular level, and that's why there are so many possible symptoms that people
and it's also fairly new that this what we like to easy call it electronic smoke is very kind of recent. So we have no idea about the long-term effects because it hasn't been around long enough, right?
So much of it, yes. So And if you think about 20 years ago, how many people actually owned a mobile phone?
Exactly.
There weren't very many. We have been affected by this radiation for a long time, though, because it's basically since electrification. So once you get electricity in walls, you're affected.
Right.
It's that the way it's not so they just weren't. It wasn't such a big deal. We weren't so close to it. It wasn't everywhere. You know, nowadays, like you said before, you can turn on your phone and see all these different Wi-Fi spaces, but there's also the things that you can't see. There's the there's the wires that are moving our electricity. There's forms of electricity and how we're affected that we don't even think about. So things like electric blankets are a big source because they're so close to the body. Hair dryers have quite a big effect because we use them, they're spinning so fast and they're creating field, and we're using them quite close to the head. So things, baby monitors are really bad because they're strong and the baby's often lying on them or very close to them. There are lots of things like that we use that are having a big effect, and we don't necessarily think about how they're affecting us. And they can be affecting us at a cellular level, but a lot of those symptoms are can be emotional as well. So when people feel angry, or that can be a result.
Yes.
Feeling angry all the time.
Yeah. So all these different effects that it can have, what does flow do? Like, what can you describe a little bit so we can imagine what flow is like now that we can't see it?
Well, what the flow products are doing is changing the effect of this radiation on the body. So they're not blocking the radiation, and you have to get your head around that. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's changing the effect of that radiation on the body so that the body is able to deal with the radiation. So, for example, at the moment, there's not a device that will measure the field put out by the flow products, but people feel a change. So, and it's, it doesn't have to be, people sort of said to me, oh, it's a placebo thing, but it's not. The changes are much bigger and physiological. And there's a video on my website that shows the difference to blood flow and what you can see with red blood cells. So it was a precursor to a study that went ahead last year, or might have been 2 years ago when the study happened, but the publication came out, I think, last year. And so it really is changing the cellular effect of the radiation on the blood, which then changes the effect on us of the radiation. So, and that can be in so many different ways. So blood flow, once you get blood flowing properly or better, then it's able to carry oxygen and nutrients around the body, and the body's able to do its work and work towards healing and recovery and not affected so much by the radiation. And that's,
and the arteries, everything can affect the whole, if you affect the blood in the arteries in some way in the body, if you ever heard of osteopathy, then that can affect all sorts of things in the body, from physical stuff to emotional stuff to hormone stuff. I mean, it can have so many different effects. I'm sure now this is a technology that's probably quite hard to understand. I think it's amazing, and I sort of recommend to anyone who wants to know more about flow and how it works to go on Libby's website. It's www.biocircuitry.com.au. Is it .com.au or just .com?
biocircuitry.com.au.
Very good. Okay. The link will be put in the notes as well as later on the video, so that you can easily follow that. What I'd like to explore now a little bit more with you, Libby, is, since it is probably a bit hard to understand, you may have or pretty sure when you started to trying to distribute and sell it in Australia and get it to the market, let's say, you probably have faced some problems and difficulties. And what were some barriers or difficulties you faced?
Oh, there were lots. When I first came across flow, I just thought it was so cool, and I got it. I just understood what was happening with it. I didn't have a large effect on me because I was basically healthy. So I've seen some big changes on people now who have lots of chronic conditions that start to resolve, but I didn't have that situation. So what happened for me is I started carrying my personal flow around, and I was going, I kind of think this is working, but I have not got a really good measure of it or what's making the difference. Ultimately, I went and did an expo. I worked for 3 days at an expo talking to people under lights, eating bad food, not much sleep because we're busy, and got in the car at the end of the expo and went, yeah, okay, it works, because I felt great. And I could have done more. I could have gone and done stuff. I just didn't have anything organised because I didn't expect to. So that was the thing for me. And because I understood it and because I got it, I just thought, I'll go and see complementary therapists. I'll go and see naturopaths and herbalists and anybody in those sort of complementary fields that will understand that this is a problem and be interested. So I got my little bag of brochures and I started wandering into therapists, and not all of them, but a lot of them had no idea. And we're talking 4 years ago. Stuff's changed a lot in 4 years, though. People are much more aware now than they were then. But I was walking into all these therapists and I said, I've got this really cool product. It helps it'll help your clients with symptoms related to non-ionizing radiation or EMF. And people were just looking at me going, well, why would I need that? And okay. So I realized that I had to start educating therapists, and I had to take a whole different tack to what I thought was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be easy, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more straightforward than it is. I did know that there are people out there who aren't therapists who know this is a problem because they're affected by it. So I started advertising in a couple of magazines, and I chose my market based on that because a lot of these people who are seriously affected by this radiation, they don't have computers. They don't have access. Well, it's not that they don't have access, it's they can't use them. So they don't have them. They don't have mobile phones. They're really minimalist in their adoption of this technology as a whole because it affects them so much. So I actually had to market in, print marketing, so that it was a magazine that people pick up and
interesting.
Which, is different from everything we're told today. But these people can't. They don't read stuff online. They don't have Kindles. They just don't access that sort of stuff. So
the younger generation would probably ask, who are these people that really exist?
There are quite a lot of them around. And so I had to take that sort of angle to start with, because otherwise I had no cash flow. And then I started building up, well, how am I going to get to therapists to educate therapists? Because that's where I need to be and what I need to be talking about. So I've done a couple of things in that regard. I've had the opportunity to talk at Nature Care College to a couple of groups of therapists coming through their training, and I advertise in a couple of therapist magazines to start getting the message out there that this is more of a problem. There is much more awareness now than there was before.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest thing, because I just had all this enthusiasm and went, what do you mean nobody else knows?
Yeah, how interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, about the first time I heard about that this could have a negative impact on my health is probably also just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and only when I really started looking deeper into health and wellness and alternative medicine and the medicines and so on. So, yeah, it's definitely, there are quite a few people I realize, but it's definitely a bit of a long way to go to get everyone to be aware of it and open their minds.
And then the difficulty is for people to say, okay, well, where's the research? And show me that it works. And we have this kind of reverse thinking where something that is helping us, we have to prove all that stuff. And yet the mobile phone, which is causing such a lot of damage, everybody just buys one. And I have odd conversations with people where they say, well, how do I know it's working? And I said, you just spent $900 on a phone. putting the mobile flow on isn't, isn't a big cost compared to what you spend on your phone. So there's that kind of stuff that happens. There's this mismatch between what we do and spend on the technology and what we
but as human nature is, right, what you can't understand, it's to the full, we're really skeptical of it. I mean, that's,
and look, skepticism's fine. I'm happy enough with skepticism, but be open to as well. Don't just say, oh well, it can't work and draw a line under it.
So I assume you had to push hard and always keep going with what you try to achieve and at the beginning, which was different to your expectations, as I
yes, and I think it's just a perseverance and just kind of sitting down and going, okay, well, how can I get through this now? And even recently, it's still I'm still always looking for new angles and new ways to get into places or to talk or to go and visit a group of practitioners or anything that'll just at least get people thinking. And even if people stop carrying their mobile phone in their pocket, that's a big plus for me.
Yeah. No, since I heard of what you have told me, since I have listened to you the first time, I actually now make a conscious effort that I do not put my phone and any phone call next to my head or on my ear. I'm always trying to use headphones or use the speaker, only if it's absolutely necessary. But I don't want to be the guy who runs through the shopping center with the speaker on his phone. But I would say 90% of my calls are now all on headset or speaker when I'm on the office, something like that. Where it's beforehand, I always had on my head. And you have some incredible research and pictures how it shows how much it affects the brain in terms of heat and other things. So that's really great stuff.
Yes.
Now, was there anything else? You said there were lots of difficulties, but they're probably the main ones. Is there anything else you like to share?
That was probably the main one, and just it's that persevering and just keeping on going. So even last year, I was about to just throw everything up in the air, and then got the opportunity to sell my product through In Origin, which has given me an audience of people who are interested and open. So that's made a difference to me, and it's also given me an opportunity to talk to people, and that's really important. And from that, I get things like this where this is another opportunity to talk to people, and even if people just start to realize and put their phone on airplane at night if they're using it as an alarm and those sort of things, that really makes a big difference for people, and it can change people's lives, that stuff. And that's what I really like. But yeah, last June I was sending out resumes.
Yeah.
It's just if you keep going, things can really change.
And is that what kept you going? This knowledge and also having seen that you can change people's lives with that? Is that what kept you going? And didn't just say, I stop it, I'm done with this?
Yeah, and I believe in the technology. Like, my stuff has a 30-day money-back guarantee, and the only times I've ever had to do that, and people have returned it, is when somebody's bought it for someone else without their prior knowledge.
Yeah.
That's only happened once, twice. So even that is not a problem really, and I'd rather take it back than have them complain about it. And
absolutely.
It's just an easier thing to do. So there is a 30-day money back guarantee that happens anyway. I don't have a problem with that. I like to talk to people, because if they're handing it back because they're feeling sick, that can actually be them clearing and detoxing, and that sometimes happens. So often, if they persevere for a little bit longer, they'll find that everything starts improving. But it's sometimes quite strong when they first get it, and there is a big detox response for people who are sensitive or have a lot of chronic conditions. They can have a big response to the flow. So
incredible thinking about that. It goes so deeply that you almost, or that some people have to actually detox from it.
Well, when you suddenly get that break from being affected by the radiation, your body can actually start doing some of the work that it needs to do, and that's part of it. But yeah, it is a belief in it, and just wanting to share that with people. And there are ways to affect your body and improve your lifestyle and everything that you may not have come across. So just be open to that possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Libby, if we look at what you do as a little niche, so saying getting a new product or a very new technology out into the market, and trying to get this out into a certain, maybe even geographical restriction, like Australia, for instance. We have a new product, new technology, nobody knows, or people are skeptical about it, and so on. What do you think is one of the biggest barriers that you have to resolve?
Education is the biggest one, I think, and having an opportunity, because it's not straightforward. This stuff is not straightforward. The physio key stuff is not straightforward either. So you need to have time to actually show people that they can be influenced by other things rather than just drugs or other physical responses. Stuff works at an energetic level as well, and that's what's happening. It's that field, the electromagnetic field from phones and everything that are affecting us. We just don't feel it and we don't see it. So there's other things, and because we don't see it and we don't feel it, people don't have an understanding, and that's that thing. So it's that education that we can be influenced by other things. I think that's probably the most.
Very good. Yeah, and I think that's probably a lot of people in the wellness industry who are maybe would face similar problems, and I think it's a very valuable point to say that you have to find ways of educating your audience. For the end of our today's interview, Libby, you talked about all the struggles you have been through, and you also mentioned a few things that you've done to actually work through these struggles. Would you please give us your 3 best tips on what you did to overcome these struggles for your business and becoming more successful?
Okay, I think persevering, believing in your product. I think that's really important, or product or service. It doesn't really matter. And just being prepared to, all about your stuff. I knew all about my stuff. It's just that nobody else does. So I had to rethink my approach, because I just expected everybody to go, yeah, we need this. So that for me, be prepared to rethink what you think is the best way to do it, and talk to other people who don't really know what you're on about, and see what they think. That's probably another really big one. And just try and get out there and educate people, and educate yourself if you need to. So take steps to to get the skills that you need to get out there. And that might involve doing a public speaking course, or joining a Toastmasters, or going and doing a writing course so you can blog better. I don't know.
So you suggest blogging, speaking, public speaking, that would be like some 2 good ways to educate and really get out there?
Yeah, quite possibly. I found the public speaking thing really helpful for me. And blogging is on my list of things.
Very good, very good. Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah. But yeah, develop your own skills. If you think that something's not working, go and find a new skill for yourself to help you get your message across.
Very good, very good. Well, Libby, these were some really great stories, or one great story you told there, and some really valuable tips. And I'm sure a lot of people who listened in today and can resonate with that. And what you said, how you can overcome these is hugely valuable. So thank you so much for that.
That's okay.
That was really great. I again encourage everyone, please check the Flow technology out. It's a really cool, there's a couple of devices you can use, and starting from something really from like as little as $100 all the way to going full throttling in for your whole office or home. So there's lots of really cool stuff out there, and really watch that video if you go on Bio Circuitry, my goodness, .com.au. I always struggle with that one. And go and navigate through to Flow and watch that video. That really, I found it really fascinating, and really gives you a better understanding about what Flow does. So,
Flow with 2 W's as well, which is it.
Flow with 2 W's, very good. Yeah, very good. That's true. And otherwise, I always tell everyone, please subscribe to the podcast so we can see each other and listen to each other next time again. And I say thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.